Big news.
I have a little news flash.
Let's check the headlines.
Nah, it's real news for once.
The biggest stories of the local, regional, and national news.
This is huge news.
Big news.
I have a little news flash.
Let's check the headlines.
Nah, it's real news for once.
The biggest stories of the local, regional, and national news.
This is huge.
It's time for Michigan Sports Talk Morning Show, broadcasting live all across the state of Michigan and Northwest Ohio. This is X's and Bros.
Swings it out to Sadiq Bey. Gets Benny in the corner! To Abdul-Rahman at midcourt. Extra pass. And it goes for the win! The three-pointer by Jordan Poole. Here's the give. Walker! Kenneth Walker! Touchdown! Sparty!
Goff's got it. Back. Looks. Throws. Ends up.
Yes!
Caught! Touchdown Detroit Lions! They did it! Amon-Ra St. Brown in the receiving end!
Sends one to deep left center field. Back it goes, and that ball's out of here. A grand slam from Miguel Cabrera. He's got 2 goals. Larkin in on goal. Scores! His first career hat trick in his 7th season for Dylan Larkin.
Here's your host, Anthony Bellino.
Rise and shine, folks. Good Tuesday morning to you. It is the 19th day of March, 2024. We welcome you here to X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network. That's Ben Glaze and Ryan Elke. I am Anthony Bellino. We say good morning to you. We welcome you. We thank you. We appreciate you. And, of course, we encourage you. Join the program at any time. You can text the keyword sports radio. Send that to 21,000 Sports Radio to 21000. Our Myers Supercenter guest line 866-838-4843. That's 866-838-4843. We're on Twitter at XB Mornings, Facebook, X's and Bros, and of course, good morning to our television audience as well, both BCSN and streaming live on our YouTube page at Michigan Sports Network at.com. To find our website, xbmornings@gmail.com. is our fan feedback email inbox. And you can find us all individually on Twitter. Ryan Elke is at RyanL_Key. Ben Glaze at the Ben Glaze. And I'm Anthony Bellino at AC Bellino. Gentlemen, good morning to both of you. How are we this morning?
Good morning. Doing well.
I didn't realize that yesterday I put out a tweet about Trey Burke. I just saw it floating around. Mm-hmm. I didn't think anything of it. I was like, yeah, probably the worst call in sports history, right? And I just left it at that.
I saw this. I was going to bring it up this morning.
Well, then I went to work, right? And so my phone's in my pocket. I don't have access to it. And I leave job number 2 I'm leaving the grocery store to go over to my parents' house. I use my parents' house as like a fob, right? It's a forward operating base, right? So I can get ready and change clothes or whatever, because I'm getting ready to head north for job number 3 yesterday. And as I'm doing that, I check my phone. It's like 20 plus Twitter notifications. And so I looked down. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'm like, oh, I wonder what people are mad about. They were not happy about that tweet, Ben.
No,
they were not. Guys, okay, couple things. One, Twitter is social media, right? So it's, it can be useful, but a majority of the time, especially in the sports realm, I've stumbled across an account who's actually he's really, really fascinating, where he talks about current events. And I'm like, yeah, this is somebody who I'm gonna bookmark this and come back to it because I'm interested now. This guy's got me interested in what he's talking about. Because a lot of times with my commutes, I typically don't listen to sports talk. I know that might sound weird. If I can catch the herd with Colin Cowherd, I'll throw that on. But outside of that, I typically don't. Like, I want to listen to something different, right? I want a little break from what I do on a day-to-day basis. So I look at my phone. I'm like, man, there's a lot of people that are upset. I think one that I just tweeted and put the phone in my pocket wasn't anything creative, didn't have any stats, really no meaning behind it. It was a pretty viral tweet. Didn't even know. And then I didn't know that when my guy Ken Tari tweeted in, he was like, Armando Galarraga has entered the chat. I didn't realize when I said a national championship versus a random game in June, that was really going to send some people. I mean, the Guardians, they were at the gate. They were ready to protect. And they were upset at that. I said, oh, geez, man, I'm like 2 for 2 right now. I am on fire. Did you? So you saw said tweet?
Yes, I did, and the activity it got. Holy cow,
dude! It's insane. It's insane. You could put it's so weird what gets traction, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You could put a lot of thought into something. You could try to, like I said, do something really well researched, anything like that. And then what happens? Nothing.
Right.
Absolutely nothing happens. But then you just say, this is probably the worst call in sports history, right? Some other guy did throw in the pass interference that wasn't called from the Saints game in the postseason. So I said, hey, this one's regional and seasonal. I was like, but if you want to bring that back up when we get to the postseason, you just circle back, just bring that one back. I was like, I'd be more than happy to make this a thing. Why not? I need to find something now, NBA or NHL-wise, where I could say, this is the worst call in sports history. And just watch people go nuts again. Like, that's what I need to find. I got a trend here now. Just find, like, a cricket match and be like, this is probably the worst call in sports history. And I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah,
He's swinging a flat stick with, 3 sticks behind him, and, who knows. Somebody's getting ready to get paddled. That's about all I know there. But yeah, I was like, okay, well, that's what we have going on there. And then, it was on to job number 3, and then that took it's just whoa. And I got home last night, and I was like, man, this is still going on. The one thing you can't do is look at the replies. You just gotta let it be, right? Just let it simmer.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't even think like I responded to like 2, and then outside of that. Just kind of let it go from there. Not really a whole lot you can do. Not really, there's no sense in walking around constantly tweeting about something. Like it just is what it is. If people want to argue about it, you just let them argue. What you did is you created the space, and that's what we're here for. It's no different than this radio show, right? We just created the space for everybody to argue with each other about sports, and they are passionate. There's a few things that they're going to argue about, and that's one of them. Now, we got a lot going on in the world of sports. We have I don't know if I'll just call it what it is. We have an exodus taking place right now with the Michigan Wolverines, and to be honest with you, it's kind of what we expected. Like I'm not really worried about it, if that makes sense. Does that? And when somebody asked me about this last night, they're like, how many players do you think stay? I'm like, they had 8 wins. What does it matter who stays? Like it's the worst team in Michigan history. Like, what does it matter if anybody from that team stays? Like, just trash it and start over. He's like, well, you do raise a point. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's you got to understand that what happened here between Michigan basketball, Juwan Howard, and this fan base. Like, I think the fans, maybe they know and maybe they don't know, so I need to tell them. But, guys, you're starting over from scratch. And I don't know if everybody's aware of that, but you are going to be literally starting here from scratch. Whoever comes in is going to come in and have to completely rebuild, re-recruit, transfer portal, like everything. You have to start over. And that's going to be difficult to do. So, but I mean, that's what we all wanted. So it's just going to take a while. We'll step aside. We'll be back with more X's and Bros after this Michigan Sports Network.
Bill Simonson here for my good friend Josh Garvey. Now, he's a managing shareholder at Dorn Mayhew's Grand Rapids office. Their world headquarters are in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state, and they have locations all around the world. They have over 550 motivated accounting professionals, 90 years in business, and I mentioned the 10 offices worldwide. So if you want to connect and partner with one of the top CPA, accounting, and business firms in the world, they're right here in Michigan. Dorn Mayhew's Troy office on the east side of the state, and Josh Garvey is a managing shareholder for their Dorn Mayhew GR office. Right there by the S-curve, you'll see the new Dorn Mayhew sign. You can find out more. Just Google Dorn Mayhew. That's DOERENMAYHEW or Dorn.com. They're one of America's and the world's top CPA, accounting, and business firms. They're Dorn Mayhew.
We played for the thrill, that rush you feel with the game on the line. I'm Herman Moore, Lions All-Pro wide receiver. Now, with Eagle Casino and Sports, the new sportsbook app from Soaring Eagle, anywhere I'm at, I'm still in the game.
Sign up now and get up to $1,000. That's right, up to $1,000 for a risk-free bet on your next favorite underdog, parlay, or prop.
Eagle Casino and Sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan.
Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
Roast Umber is a farm-direct coffee sourced from Central American farmers and roasted in Grand Rapids. And also the Nitro Cold Brew Coffee is a convenient and healthy option for energy with no sugar additives. Look for it at your local retailer or at roastumber.com. Coming up later today at 3 on The Huge Show on the Michigan Sports Network, I'll deliver huge opinions on everything you're talking about.
This is X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network.
Welcome back here to X's and Bros, Michigan Sports and Network. Folks, don't forget that we have our first four games tonight. How quickly things turn around. We have 16 seed Howard versus Wagner, and then in a 10 seed matchup, Virginia and Colorado State. True TV will have both 6:40 and 9:10 start times. So, Ben, who's your cable provider?
I don't. I just have YouTube TV.
Oh,
yeah, I've cut the cord.
Oh, oh. All right, so that doesn't apply for you. But yeah, every year I used to have a friend in my area because there were all these different cable networks. But he would literally go out and do the channel guide, and he would tweet it, right? And it would always do really well. Like, hey, if you have AT&T, if you have Comcast, if you have Spectrum, if you have Buckeye, if you have whatever the case may be, and all the networks, and here's all the stations. True TV and TNT and TBS and what's the other one I'm trying to think of but can't off the top of my mind? CBS, duh. So those are the four. CBS, TBS, TNT, and True TV are your four networks. We're also going to have NIT basketball tonight as well. How crazy is that? So, I mean, it starts fast. Hopefully, it felt like it used to take longer to get to the bracket. But maybe that's because the first four and everything else. But as a child, it felt like it was a lot longer. My buddy in college, my old college roommate, he used to get a giant print. I don't know where he came up with this thing, but it was like a giant printed bracket. And he used to tape this thing to our wall in college. Like, it was huge. Like, this thing was and he would fill it out. This wasn't any regular sheet of paper, people. I'm talking, this thing was like a scroll. And it was a monster. I don't know what building he would have printed this in on campus. I have no idea who's got a printer this large. But, I mean, it took some effort. And he would go up there, he would tape this thing to the wall and track it game by game. So you walk in from class, and the way that it was set up is that the two bedrooms, second floor, but it was like individual entry apartment complex, right? So it's not like we had a shared, main door for everybody. Like, it was like an open pass, if you will, with the stairwell in the middle. And so we lived on the second floor, and you'd open the door, and the living room was immediately to the right. There was a closet, 2 bedrooms, and a bathroom on the left, a bathroom in the back, and the kitchen was in the back corner. I love that place. Looking back at it now, we lived in a square. That's what it was. It was just a square, mass-produced, but it was 2 bedrooms and, 1.5 baths. A kitchen. The big thing is the washer and dryer was right there in the apartment. It was in a closet, off the kitchen. It was. I loved that place. I wish I knew a kid. You know what? I would like to go back there and just knock on the door and be like, "Hey, I know this is weird, but my name's Anthony, and many, many years ago, I used to live in this apartment. You got anything to drink in here?" And sit down and just to see what it looks like now. I'm sure it looks the same, green carpet and all that stuff. But all right, so we're going to get into to college hoops coming up a little bit later. But first, let's get into what took place with the Pistons last night. What I like about the Pistons is that when they win a couple games, everybody on the internet overreacts to the fact that they won 3 out of 4, and it's exciting. It is. I like when they win. I think that my job is not only more fun, but it's easier. When they win. When teams win, it's just more fun, right? So let's take a look at the Lions from the 3-13-1 season to the Lions of last season, right? The Lions of last season, when you're winning, you can do all sorts of fun things. Hell, you can even nitpick at different random stuff because everything's going so well, that you run out of things to complain about. That's a great problem to have. This is a 12-56 team, and they lost last night, and they lost bad. I saw Danny Cahalan tweeting out about how he had the Celtics minus 20.5, and he said something along the lines of, it's just had to do it. I cannot wait to talk to him later because we work together again, which is really cool. But the Pistons got creamed last night, 119-94, and although it was a game after the first quarter, the Celtics, they did a lot of body work in the second and third quarters, and then the fourth quarter. Was tight again individually, but that second, third quarter, I mean, it was it was basically a showcase of here's Boston, a team that is a championship caliber team. I have my concerns about. I'm not going to lie. I really do. I have my concerns with what's going on in Boston because I don't know if they have the bench in order to win an NBA championship. Now, mind you, 4 of their 5 starters went for 20 or more. Like Kristaps Porzingis, and his addition to Boston just made too much sense. It really works out well because Kristaps doesn't have to be the focal point of the offense. They've got a great tandem of guards in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Find me a guy who belongs on the Celtics more than Peyton Pritchard. I'll call you a liar. When you look at Peyton Pritchard, do you not think like, yeah, that's Beantown 100%? Just looking at him. Just buzzed head, kind of pale. Looks like he's a Red Sox fitted away or like a flannel shacket with like a hood. You know what I mean? Like that just looks like, he's on like a shipping yard. That's what I'm trying to get to. In Boston, they just did work. Right? And there's a clear gap there because they have some legitimate all-stars in guys like Kristaps and Jaylen Brown that combined for 51 points. Both of them shot 50% or better from the field. Both of them shot 50% or better from 3. Kristaps finished with 20 and 8. There was 31 for Jaylen Brown. On the Pistons side of things, you had Jaden Ivey with a good shooting night. I've seen some people, he struggled a little bit from long range, and he's not the most prolific shooter from long range. But I've seen some people now tracking parts of the season where Jaden didn't shoot it very well, and now trying to compare Jaden Ivey's numbers to Killian Hayes. That's the point we're at. You don't have Cade Cunningham, so you start Marcus Sasser, who struggled to shoot it from the floor. Jalen Duren, 8 and 9 in 22 minutes. A weird, James Wiseman played 26. I don't know when that's supposed to happen ever, but it did. And then Beef Stew got hurt like in the, late second, early third quarter. He jumped up for a rebound, and he jumped kind of awkwardly, and his right leg was like way in the air. Right, he jumped like straight up and down, but his right leg was way up in the air. Came down and grabbed underneath his butt cheek, and that's never a good sign. So that's a huge issue. Without Cade, I don't expect too much to happen with this club. Going to be honest here. And when he's resting for his left knee injury management, I just don't see a space where this team's going to be very competitive. And this is against the Boston team, mind you, that didn't have Jason Tatum in the lineup due to a right ankle injury. But they have more than enough firepower to roll out there. I mean, they have 3 legitimate all-stars in Kristaps, Jalen, and Jason. If that's what they wanted to do, it's pretty incredible. Derek White posted his first career triple-double. 22 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. The NBA best Celtics wiped the floor with the Pistons. And it just goes to show that this is, I like what Ryan said on the screen. So Ryan put on the screen, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or on BCSN, no Cade, no contest. I would run with that, Ryan. I would keep that stashed, and for every game that he sits, or every game that he is injured, or any game he is unavailable for, that could really be a theme. Especially with the way that Cade is playing right now. I know that throughout the course of those middle months, it was like, hey, wait a minute, Cade Cunningham's out of the lineup, and this team's playing a little bit differently right now. This is interesting, but you gotta have them, especially if you're gonna be taking on a team that's the number 1 team in the NBA. There's not a whole lot there. The internet was angry at it though last night. I don't think you're not gonna see sweeping changes. I don't think so. I think you're gonna see Asar when he is healthy to return. I think you're going to see Cade. I think you'll see Jalen Duren. I think you see Jaden Ivey. I think you see Simone Fontecchio, and I think you're going to see Beef Stew. Everybody else is up for grabs, but I think I don't know what move you're going to make that's going to net something crazy here, and I don't trust this front office to do it. We'll step aside when we return. Big news for the Lions. They make a move. That's really exciting. We'll talk about it next year. X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Time out! The super sale is back at Meijer, Friday and Saturday only. Coca-Cola 2 liters are $1.49. Frank's Red Hot sauce is $2.99. And Pace salsa is just $1.49. Plus, get chicken wings, pre-made snack trays, and fresh and ready deli items to enjoy during the games. Meijer's super sale deals are in-store and online while supplies last. Shop this Friday and Saturday only during the Meijer super sale. Okay, game on. Exclusions apply. See all the deals in the Meijer app.
You're listening to Michigan's statewide morning show, X's and Bros, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Welcome back here to X's and Bros, Michigan Sports and Network. Great to have you ride along with us. That's Ben and Ryan. I'm Anthony. Hey, last night I had an awesome conversation. I meant to ask Ryan this too, with Kevin Pauga, who is one of the associate ADs at Michigan State University, because we had the big. First off, in hockey, we get Michigan State for a Big Ten title. How cool is that? That'll just be a lot of fun. But outside of hockey, Kevin Pauga deals a lot with the KPI, right? And so this KPI is a metric system that Kevin helped develop. He was the brainchild behind this thing, and we were talking about like the analytics and what goes into actually piecing together the field of 68 and the amount of data and everything else that goes into it. And man, I mean, it's just fascinating to hear how they take a look at, like I say possibility versus probability a lot, right? Because the reason I say it a lot when it applies, because I think that it's important for people to understand that just because something can happen doesn't mean that it's likely to happen, right? And there's an interesting way to look at it, especially when you start to not necessarily look at like science from the actual science that's being performed, but you look at how they speak about a particular topic. That to me is very interesting, because in the realm in which they speak, it helps me understand, right? And especially when they're topics that are above and beyond my head and my ability to comprehend exactly what they're speaking of. But those that can really give a seminar, give a presentation, break it down in such a way where I always like to say, explain it to me like I'm 6, right? Because if you can explain something to a kid, if you can make something make sense to a child, like here's a good one, because Ben, I don't know if you have any kids.
No.
Ryan would know this. Ryan, what's the most off the wall question your children have ever asked you? Either one, any of your kids have ever asked you, and when I mean off the wall, have they like asked you like, why is the sky blue? Or why are there clouds? Or why does it rain? Right? Just crazy, like stuff that kids ask because they want to know, that you have to then come up with an answer for without going, well, why don't you just Google it? Right? Because that's what we can do now. We can go to Google and we can get our Google on to really help. Outside of that, like there was a time and place where our parents had to know the answer to said questions off the top of their head and give that to us. Right? And so that's my question for Ryan, or for any of you out there. What's the craziest question your kids have asked where you've had to come up with an answer or a solution to something? Where it's like, that's what I mean, like explain it to me like I'm 6. Because if you as a parent, your kid goes, well, why does it rain? And you as a parent can talk about clouds, right? And explain the process of rainwater and how clouds form and rainwater coming down, and you can explain it to a 6-year-old, that's pretty good. You're pretty well versed on the topic, because you have to know a lot about it in order to present it in such a dumbed down way that a child can understand it. And I don't mean dumbed down to be offensive or anything like that. So I really enjoy it. And I like probabilities and possibilities and the data and all the analytics. And we'll get into this a little bit later on here on today's show. But there is something else that is taking place that's really caught my eye. And the reason it's caught my eye is because, one, it's a team we follow. But two, it is so on brand for what is going on in what this team is about that it just makes sense. So yesterday evening, about 6:40 maybe, give or take, we got news that Kevin Zeitler, yes, it is Zeitler, is signing a 1-year deal with the Detroit Lions. So the Lions lose out on Jonah Jackson through free agency to the LA Rams. And according to some, this was believed that this was going to happen because Jonah wasn't available at different times throughout the course of the season. And there wasn't a full-out belief that Jonah necessarily, like, was Jonah more worried about winning football games, or was Jonah Jackson more worried about his contract? And from some, they believe that Jonah Jackson is more concerned about him and himself and his contract than the overall well-being of the team, which I find is fascinating because how can you, with whatever injury you may have, not suck it up and play through it unless it's something you can't play through, right? And so am I hurt or am I injured, right? If I'm hurting right now and everybody's hurt, and I look over at Frank Ragnow, who has an inoperable toe and is in pain every single game. If I look over at him and he's playing, how can I not play with whatever I have going on? I have a question about that. So when Jonah Jackson left for free agency, it was more of a happy trails for me. Like I was just going to wave my hand and, okay, all right, take care. LA will suit you. Like, good for you. Go get paid, whatever. I hate that go get paid, though. Like, you got enough money as it is. What do you mean? You shouldn't, like, think about it like this. You got a rookie deal. Who's got the smallest deal out of any draft pick? Brock Purdy, right? Brock Purdy's got the last pick in the draft. He's got the worst deal. I mean, for 4 years of work to make hundreds of thousands of dollars year over year, you should be able to make that work. Like, you shouldn't need more than one contract. You more than likely have your degree or a couple credits away from your degree. You have a name that can get you a job anywhere now because you played in the NFL. Like, I don't understand what's so hard about this. Like, you give me 4 years at $800,000 a year, I'm working for fun. Like that, it's not going to take that much. It's not going to, you just got to be smart. So, happy trails, Jonah Jackson. See you later. Now we got this spotted guard. What are we going to do? Jeff Risdon told us a few weeks ago about the center from Oregon, and maybe there was an opportunity because he was a Dan Campbell guy. Maybe there's an opportunity to draft that kid from Oregon, where you have a guy that can play center, but we can start him early on at the guard position, and then you have your exit plan for Frank because, you know, Frank has talked about, he said the R word, right? He said retired, and that's when a guy starts talking about it, it's coming, and it's coming fast, and you don't know. It's going to be this year, it's going to be next year, like you don't know now. But he said it out loud. He's really, I'm thinking about, it takes some time away from the game. I got to, reassess how I feel. Those are all the key words in the story here of this guy is about to be done with football. He is about to call it quits. We have, Aaron Donald stopped after 10 seasons. That's it. Eric Ebron stopped after 3. No, but, in seriousness, Aaron Donald quit after 10 seasons. In his letter, he's got four beautiful kids and his wife, and he said, my family, my kids, my wife have watched me live out my dream. It's time for me to watch them live out theirs. Wow, powerful stuff. What kind of dreams are your 5-year-olds having that you're going to watch them? Like, no, but I get what he's doing. You don't have to play that long anymore. Like, that's the other thing. Like, there are very select few players that have made it 15 or more years in the league, right? They're typically quarterback position because, especially with the new rules, any smart quarterback is going to just use the 5 guys in front of him to block for him, stay in the pocket, not take the hits. But, other guys, they can't help it. They just have to run, so it is what it is. But you would think to yourself, if you have 5, 6, 7 years in the league, what do you really need to keep doing this for? I think, and with the money that's out there right now, I honestly think that this is a trend. Aaron Donald played a decade. You'd be like, wow, this guy played a decade. Where that decade kind of feels like a 2-decade run because that player's basically gone. Like I said, you have them at the quarterback position. You're not going to see too many guys go 18, 19, 20 years anymore. You're just not. Remember, Aaron Rodgers didn't play for the first how many years of his career? It's the same thing with Jordan Love. So the Lions are here, and what are they going to do now at the guard position? Well, they go out and get Kevin Zeitler on a 1-year deal. This is just such a Brad Holmes deal, right, that I don't even know. Like, it just makes perfect sense. Now, a lot of people are like, well, Zeitler's old. Yes, Zeitler is older. which actually works in our benefit right now because Kevin Zeitler is outstanding. His pass blocking grade as a Raven over the last 3 years, he was the number 2 guard out of 83 last season in 2023. He was number 4 of 84 players in 2022 and number 4 of 88 players in 2022. Or 2021, pardon me. He had 15 or more starts 9 consecutive years. He's played in 92% of his team's offensive snaps over his career. Durability has absolutely been an issue when you look at the fact that we went out and got Hal Vaitai. He can't stay healthy. He was replaced by Graham Glasgow. You had Taylor Decker. He was out, so you had Penei Sewell playing musical chairs. You had Jonah Jackson out. Frank's been out. I mean, the Lions, this is the strength of the entire group right here, is the offensive line. And so what did they do? They added another guy who's a little bit older on a nice deal where you have an all-pro tackle at Penei Sewell, a Pro Bowl and perennial all-pro center in Frank Ragnow, Graham Glasgow, who, I mean, sensational, and Taylor Decker on the left side, where a lot of people are starting to look at Decker and go, well, you know, what about Decker? You know, what are we going to do here? And you don't have to address that right now. Eventually you will, but you have your succession plan in place. That's why, you know, at the end of the first round at pick number 29, let's say the kid from Oregon is there. If they're interested and they want to go that route, by all means, like, do it. Like, I'm not gonna yell, kick, and scream about any of that. I actually am gonna be pretty excited if they do go that route. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be excited across the board. Really, no matter who they pick. The guy's name, by the way, because I keep saying the guy from Oregon, Jackson Powers Johnson is his name. He's 6'3", 330. Graham Barton out of Duke is listed as the number 1 center. He's 6'5", 315. He's number 1 overall at his position. He's ranked number 32 overall according to ESPN. Jackson Powers Johnson is ranked 47th overall. Those are 2 guys that I would absolutely look at late there in the first round because I think we're going to have a run on quarterbacks here early like we typically do, where quarterback is overdrafted and GMs get fired for it. That's like, you know, I know that we've gone back and forth over this. We did the franchise quarterback exercise where we took a look at all of the first-round quarterbacks who have flopped, what the percentage is. We had yes, no, and too early to tell. And even my buddy Ryan over there was very lenient on the too early to tell because Kyler Murray, the jury's out for me. I'm good. But, hey, I said, okay, that's why I had to bring in a third party. I had to bring in an arbitrator. All right, because I was going to prove my point regardless, but it's always good to have like a third party come in here and say, well, you know, Jim, maybe Kyler Murray, maybe it's a little early. Right, but you just go back and look at the damage that has been done over the last 2 years at the quarterback position. Who has lasted, who has not lasted. Like, it has been a bloodbath of quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, all traded out of the 2022 class. Malik Willis is a backup. Bailey Zappi's a backup. Matt Corral's in the UFL. Trevor Lawrence is a starter. Zach Wilson's either going to be cut or traded. Trey Lance traded. Justin Fields traded. Mac Jones traded. I mean, think about Trey Lance. What a whiff that was. But this is that time of year, and they're going to do it again. They are going to do it again. I've seen people talking about, should Caleb Williams give the Chicago Bears the Eli Manning treatment and say, you know what, I'm not going to play here. Look at what the Bears have done to these quarterbacks. Oh, God. Oh, yeah, I can't necessarily disagree. They haven't been great at quarterback. That much is for certain. But, like, there's going to be a run on quarterbacks, and I think we're going to see some other players available a little bit later because people they're going to overdraft. They always do. You're going to have Caleb, who's going to be the second quarterback off the board. J.J. McCarthy's climbing. Will it be Drake May? I would stay away from Drake May. That's just me. I'd stay away from Caleb Williams, to be honest with you, too. That's also a just me type of thing. But I think our top 6, Williams, Daniels, May, McCarthy, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix, I think they're all off the board relatively quick. I really do. I think that this is all within the first 45 picks. You'll see all 6 of them gone. So that changes the draft board immensely, especially with some of the quarterback movement. It's kind of a telltale of, who's going in what direction. Chicago moving on from Justin Fields, they are absolutely going quarterback, right? You know this. They've got themselves a little bit of a war chest, right? What's Arizona doing at pick number 4? You look at the Chicago Bears have picks 1 and 9, and then they have the 11th pick in the 3rd round, the 22nd pick in the 4th round. That's it. The Lions have a first, a second, 1 third, a 5th, 2 6th, and a 7th. Are they going to be able to piece any of that because they had to deal a 3rd? Would they have to give up on any of that? Regardless, I think the Zeitler conversation, at least with him being there, it's another addition that makes total sense for Brad Holmes and for Dan Campbell. Building on the offensive line, I know that it's not necessarily the most attractive. I know it's not an edge rusher that everyone's going to be like, oh, my God, Chase Young. Like Chase Young, for example, signing for $13 million in New Orleans. He's been on the free agency board for a while, and there hasn't really been a whole lot there because I feel like Chase Young isn't an every down kind of player. And him not being an every down kind of player is not why you sign somebody for $13 million. Not when you can use that money elsewhere. And I know that while some of these big deals have been coming and going and people have been questioning what Brad Holmes is doing, questioning what this team is doing, why they're not going after some of the bigger names, they're not going to be the designer shoppers. They're not going to go after these big names with these big contracts that are in the 2nd or 3rd phase of their career. They're not going to do it. What they are going to do is they're going to add meaningful pieces like a Kevin Zeitler that's not going to be sexy, but is going to walk in as a veteran who, 1, plays a lot of snaps, and 2, a veteran on the O-line. There's going to be no rookie learning curve. So if they want to draft on the offensive line, they can do so while not sacrificing the overall play there. They can still teach. They can still coach. They can still get that red shirt, if you will, for a young O-lineman, if that's the direction that they want to go. I mean, they might surprise us all. You know what I mean? They might go wide receiver there in the late in the first round. We have no idea. But I'm seeing the pattern develop here with Brad Holmes, and I really like it. Like, I'm a fan. I think that the getting Amik and getting Carlton in the back end for this secondary, getting DJ Reader up front, like, they're making all of these very, very calculated moves that all seem to make sense. And it's dangerous. It's dangerous when I start going like, that absolutely makes sense. Okay, that's a good move. That's a good move. I feel like I'm saying too much positive stuff and something bad's going to happen, right? But that's the way it is. Like, we can clearly see the path that this program is taking, and I am a fan of that. We'll step aside. Hour 2 is next. X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network.
Imagine this, winning big at Soaring Eagle. Luck is in the air with Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort's Big Money March giveaway. Every Saturday from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., play for the chance to win a share of $130,000 in cash and premium play. At 11 p.m. each night, one lucky Access Club member will take home $20,000 cash. Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, your getaway reimagined. Visit SoaringEagleCasino.com for complete rules and details.
Huge here for my good friend Drew and the crew at Impact Power Sports. Now, they're located on 14 Mile Road in Rockford, just north of Grand Rapids here on the west side of the state. They are Michigan's newest Yamaha go-to golf cart dealer. Now, if you're looking for a golf cart for the neighborhood, the business, the golf club, maybe that second home or the lake, stop by and see Drew and the crew. They can hook you up today at Impact Power Sports. They also have e-bikes, quads, side-by-side, yard toys for the big boys and the big girls. Anything you need when it comes to power, they have it at Impact Power Sports on 14 Mile Road in Rockford. Also, if you want a shot at winning Lois Brown's Lions golf cart, a custom-built Lions golf cart, text IMPACT to 21000. That's impact to 21000. And you could win Lomas Brown's Lions golf cart this summer from Impact Power Sports and The Huge Show.
Time out. The super sale is back at Meijer, Friday and Saturday only. Coca-Cola 2 liters are $1.49. Frank's Red Hot sauce is $2.99. And Pace salsa is just $1.49. Plus, get chicken wings, pre-made snack trays, and fresh and ready deli items to enjoy during the games. Meijer's super sale deals are in-store and online while supplies last. Shop this Friday and Saturday only during the Meijer super sale. Okay, game on. Exclusions apply. See all the deals in the Meijer app.
Roast Umber is a farm-direct coffee sourced from Central American farmers and roasted in Grand Rapids. And also the Nitro Cold Brew Coffee is a convenient and healthy option for energy with no sugar additives. Look for it at your local retailer or at roastumber.com.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Huge here. AB's doing a heck of a job, and I'm ready to drop some huge opinions about what he's talking about later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
Good morning, everyone.
It's time for Michigan Sports Talk Morning Show, broadcasting live all across the state of Michigan and Northwest Ohio. This is X's and Bros.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's a good morning. Wake up to a brand new day.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Vietnam!
Here's your host, Anthony Bellino.
Rise and shine, folks. Good Tuesday morning to you. It is the 19th day of March 2024. Great to have you riding along with us, no matter who you are, where you are, how you may be listening, all across the great state of Michigan and in Northwest Ohio and worldwide on the iHeartRadio app. We say good morning to you. We welcome you. We thank you. We appreciate you. And, of course, we encourage you to join the program at any time. You can text the keyword Sports Radio, send that to 21,000 Sports Radio to 21000. Myers Supercenter guest line 866-838-4843. That's 866-838-4843. You can join us on Twitter at XB Mornings, Facebook, X's and Bros, and, of course, good morning to our television audience as well on BCSN, streaming live on our YouTube page at Michigan Sports Network, to find our website. XB Mornings at gmail.com is our fan feedback email inbox, and you can find us all individually on Twitter. Ryan Elke is at RyanL_Key, Ben Glaze at The Ben Glaze, and I'm Anthony Bellino at AC Bellino. One thing we didn't get to with Duquesne, shout out to Duquesne making the NCAA tournament. Keith Dambrot spent a lot of time with Akron, spent a lot of time in the Mid-American Conference, ended up going on to Duquesne, and Keith Dambrot has actually said that he is going to retire at the conclusion of the tournament, which, I mean, what a way to go out if you are him. I mean, that's awesome. So congratulations to him. But did you see this during the actual A-10 championship game between Duquesne and VCU? Let's pick it up second half. Duquesne's up big, 38-23. 18 minutes to play. Listen to the GOAT, Kevin Harlan.
They're going to have to stop playing. We can't see our notes. The players can't work on this court. Confetti is everywhere. My goodness. Oh, my gosh. They got confetti falling right now. Confetti is falling on the floor. They're going to have to stop playing. We can't see our notes. The players can't work on this court. Confetti is everywhere. Somebody hit the wrong button.
Well, Kevin, to be honest with you, there's not a lot of this confetti that made it on the court. Most of it fell on us. But I think they were just trying to honor you, Kevin. You deserve confetti everywhere you go.
Yeah, right. Our officials wisely stopped it, but that was an early ejection right there. And they're going to have to reload it now for the winner. I mean, my goodness, it's
well, your winner might.
It's so great. It's Kevin Harlan. That's so awesome. I did see that Long Beach. Ryan just sent me the story here from Long Beach State. In what has happened at Long Beach State is the fact that they are actually they fired their coach and they made the tournament anyways. Dan Munson is their head coach, and they let Dan Munson go, and then they went ahead and made the tournament. So you have that, you have the confetti, the championship game. Kevin Harlan always finds himself in the craziest positions. And the thing about Kevin Harlan is he is the consummate professional, whether it's squirrels running loose, streakers out on the field, if he's calling two games at once, whatever the case may be. Kevin Harlan, he's got to be number one of the power rankings from a national standpoint. Like, give me Kevin Harlan over just about everybody, football and basketball. He's number one. I think that Gus Johnson has to have a deal away from Fox where CBS can sign him for college basketball. It's a disservice to not have him out there. And then, of course, everybody talks to the guy who gets to call the national championship. It's not fun. It's not the same. And I'm looking for a broadcast that's energetic and that has juice. And that's what you get from guys like Harlan and Gus Johnson. I think they do a great job, and they are it's just awesome. All right, what else is going on in the sports world? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Well, let's get to Scott first. We do have a bunch of headlines, but I do want to get to Scott first. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
Hey, brother. Hey, just a little tourney talk for you. I know how, everybody's disparaging on the Big Ten and everything, but if you look at and these are guys, they don't put their money in Vegas. They don't put their money on legacies or coaches coaching is a thing, but Purdue has the third best odds to win the tourney. Illinois has the 11th best odds to win the tourney. Whiskey has 15th best odds, and Michigan State 18th. And
how do they have Wisconsin making it out of the first round?
Wisconsin's gonna whitewash that team.
You think they're going to beat James Madison?
Wisconsin has 5 players that have 7 or more NCAA tournament games under their belt. These are seasoned guys. They're not playing any monkey games or kids games. Those boys are going to win by 15. I'm telling you. You can have all the fun-loving 15 seed and 12 seed and all these other things, but it isn't happening with Whiskey.
12-5 matchup is historically dangerous for the 5 seed.
Yeah, if you watch Jay Billis or listen to him last night, and I'm not a fan of his in some ways, but I am a fan of his in knowledge. And he said, this is the weakest metrics for the 11 through 15 seeds that it's ever been.
Kevin Pauga from Michigan State told me last night that based on, how did he frame this? Because I don't want to say it wrong, but it was just such a wild, that from a metric and analytical standpoint, like 28 of the teams that made the tournament this year would not have made it last year.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And here's a little thing on Michigan State and the people who want to hate on Michigan State. Ryan's going to love this. But Michigan State against top 12 teams were 2-7. Beat Illinois, beat Baylor. The 5 games they lost by a combined 25 points. That's 5 points a game. Against the top 4 of the top 6 mid-major teams in the country, you got all 4 of them either won their regular season conference or won their conference tournament. Stony Brook, Oakland, Indiana State, and James Madison. Other than James Madison, which Sparty shot 10 for 24 from the free throw line, that's an anomaly.
Very, very prolific three-point shooting team, those Spartans.
And then the other 3 teams, they won by an average of 25 points in those games. Now, I applaud those teams. Like Stony Brook played Nebraska. They played Illinois. They played. You were talking about how the Mid-American can jump up. Go and play these guys. They play the in-state people, but go and play some of the others. I mean, Stony Brook played Illinois, Nebraska, Michigan State, James Madison. Their two of their losses came before their conference started because they played some big. They tried to.
Am I supposed to be wowed by Stony Brook? Is that what you're selling me on right now?
No. I'm saying in the net they're in the top 6 of all the mid-major teams, and I'm just saying, I'm just telling you, you Michigan State plays people, and they don't have the 18th best odds in Vegas to win the tourney for no reason. It's not like
somebody had to be in front of Howard.
What? They're ahead of 40 teams.
Yeah.
50. I'm sorry. They're ahead of 50 teams. 50. Yeah. And you sound just like that. One of my salespeople is a huge Michigan guy, huge Michigan fan. And yesterday he was telling me, Yeah, Purdue's going to lose in the first or second round.
Purdue, if Purdue loses in the first round, it's one of the biggest failures ever. But we got to hit the break. We'll be back with more X's and Bros after this. Michigan Sports Network.
Bill Simonson here for my good friend Josh Garvey. Now, he's a managing shareholder at Dorn Mayhew's Grand Rapids office. Their world headquarters are in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state, and they have locations all around the world. They have over 550 motivated accounting professionals, 90 years in business, and I mentioned the 10 offices worldwide. So if you want to connect and partner with one of the top CPA, accounting, and business firms in the world, they're right here in Michigan. Dorn Mayhew's Troy office on the east side of the state, and Josh Garvey is a managing shareholder for their Dorn Mayhew GR office. Right there by the S-curve, you'll see the new Dorn Mayhew sign. You can find out more. Just Google Dorn Mayhew. That's DOERENMAYHEW or Dorn.com. They're one of America's and the world's top CPA, accounting, and business firms. They're Dorn Mayhew.
There's a new player in town. Hi, I'm Herman Moore, Lions All-Pro wide receiver, and I'm talking about Eagle Casino and Sports, the real money mobile casino. It's so easy to play. You can go from wager to winner to wallet, just like that.
Sign up now and we'll match your deposit up to $1,500. Or you can get a risk-free bet up to $1,000.
Eagle Casino and Sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan.
Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org. Coming up later today at 3 on the Huge Show on the Michigan Sports Network, I'll deliver huge opinions on everything you're talking about.
This is X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network.
Welcome back here to X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network. It's great to have you riding along with us, no matter who you are, where you are, how you may be listening. So Scott said something I want to pick up on here, and that is the fact that he said that you sound just like I don't know if it was a customer of his that is a Michigan fan. What I'm saying isn't coming from a place of Michigan fan. Like, my team's not in it. It doesn't matter to me. You know, I don't know how else I can say that as succinctly as that. I think that in talking to Kevin Pauga last night, because I straight up asked him. I said, how is it that Michigan State gets in over at Kansas State? And he's like, I saw the graphic that was floating around social media. He's like, here's the thing about statistics and data, right? You start cherry picking and taking different data points, different data lines. And I get, like, he works at Michigan State. So Izzo can walk down the hallway and knock on his door and be like, hey, what do you got for me? That's not the point. The point of it is, he said, we could really choose different data points that would make Michigan State look a whole lot closer to Wisconsin. I'm like, you don't want to look like Wisconsin because they got to play James Madison the first round or whatever. But it was a really, really fun conversation. And to say, like, okay, so Michigan State has the 18th best odds of winning a national championship. Well, my point with, like, Howard or Grambling or anybody else is, like, the 18th best odds? 18th? That's where we went? All the way to 18? I mean, as they should. As they should. And they can put a good number out there people are going to wager on. Like, that's, I mean, I can't, I don't really dive too much into the whole betting aspect. Lee Sterling will join us coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. I'll let Lee take care of all of that for me because I don't, it's not something I can participate in, so it's not something I really pay a whole lot of attention to. Should I pay more attention to the betting and the gambling? Maybe. We have segments here for you, the listener, in case you're interested in it, but it's not something that, like I said, it's not something that I can do, so I don't really pay too much mind to it, and then I try not to go down the conspiracy rabbit hole because I want to believe that sports are pure and it's the one pure thing we have left, which, even that I question from time to time based on some outcomes and whatnot. We will get first four matchup tonight, Wagner versus Howard. That is the early game over on True TV. We got a ton of NIT action tonight. The second game, Colorado State versus Virginia. The Colorado State and actually Virginia. That's a game that, some Michigan fans might want to tune into if you're looking for your next coach. But I'm not giggling at Scott because Michigan State's in the tournament. I think that they're in the tournament because they schedule is what he said. I mean, we played the Izzo audio yesterday, and, Tom, do we schedule too hard? When you factor in strength of schedule versus strength of record, I don't know. You want to win the games, but you want to beat quality teams. So the NCAA net rankings is a way to get everybody on the same sheet and at least get it organized. And then you can look at all the different data points and everything else from there on forward. But, I don't know. I don't know. When it comes down to Michigan State, I would be nervous if I was a Spartan fan. And, I'm not, so I don't really have anything to be nervous about in general. But I can tell you this much. What was their record coming down the stretch? Does that make you confident as a Michigan State fan that this is going to be, like, this is your year? Like, does that make you confident where, you're going to call and tell me that you have the 18th best odds? What was the final record down the stretch? You beat Minnesota in the Big Ten tournament, okay? And you were, 1-4 going into that game in your last 5? It's not like this team's on an absolute heater going in. And, you don't necessarily have to be. And you don't have to be the best team, really. I mean, Tom Izzo has the most wins out of anybody as a worst seed in NCAA history. He's got 16 wins as a higher seed. That's a pretty good number. Like, that's more than anybody. Now, it obviously helps when you're in the tournament for 26 consecutive years. That's always nice. I mean, my My team couldn't make it 6 consecutive years. Oh, yeah, you look at the accomplishment there. I don't think that there is going to be I don't think that this committee, I don't think they played bad enough for this committee to leave them out and snap that streak. Honestly. I think when you get down to it, I think Tom Izzo, I think the Michigan State, a Gruff Sparty logo, I think that was enough to carry him in there. You can argue it all you want. We weren't in the room to discuss it, so you can have an opinion on the 19-win Spartans, and I welcome that opinion, but I'm saying that you get the benefit of the doubt because of the branding. That's why branding matters. And it's not just you. I mean, look at my football team, for God's sakes. The brand was better than the product for how many years? Look at Notre Dame as a whole. The brand of ND, the brand of the Fighting Irish, the brand of the Four Horsemen got them in to play Alabama in 2012 and got them waxed. They weren't that good, but it's the brand. It's the same reason why the College Football Playoff Committee and all the conferences come together, the chancellors. These chancellors out of here. First off, get these academic folks gone. They don't have anything to do with sport. You guys worry about what's going on in the chem lab. We'll worry what's going on out here in the football field. That's number one. I've always disagreed with the academia. You know, all I could picture is that here are all these football coaches in a room, right? All these ADs in their suits. The coaches are in the room, and they got the clipboards and their whistles hanging around their neck and their high socks, right? All these coaches are there, right? Maybe they have a few players that come in and like a veteran players committee come in and weigh in on some thoughts. And then here comes the academia, the school presidents and chancellors, the universities. And those are the owls with the graduation caps that fly in and screw everything up, which isn't what I wanted to say, but I'm glad I caught myself here before I said fly in and bleep something up. That's the way that I look at it. You know, I did see my boy DK Spartan Hoops talking about the NIL contingent at Michigan State, and he said, until I know exactly where my dollars go, you're never going to get the average Joe to get into NIL. Thank you. Thank you. If you are approaching me, Tony Baloney, and you're like, hey, the University of Michigan needs your support for name, image, and likeness, right? So just call it what it is. We need money for players. We need to pay for people to play, baby. Forget this name, image, and likeness stuff. We need pay for play. Will you donate to our pay for play fund? That's what they should call it, the pay for play fund. Every school can have one. I'll donate to it if I know where it's going. Maybe. I mean, I personally won't, but this is I would never actually give my money, my hard-earned money, where I'm working 5, 6, 7 days a week, multiple jobs a day, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I am not giving my money to a school to pay some college recruit. You're out of your mind if you think I'm going to do that. And if you do that, Godspeed. Think about it like this. You want to give your NIL collective of your favorite university $1,000. $1,000. That sounds like an egregious amount, but we'll just go with it just because. Why would you not put that $1,000 into an IRA? Why would you not put that $1,000 into your 401k? Why would you not put that $1,000 into a high-yield savings account where you're earning 4.3, 4.5, 4.8, 5%? Why are you going to give it to some, I'm sorry here, idiot kid to go play a sport in college? Like, and I don't mean it like an idiot kid, like they're all idiot. I don't mean to be offensive here. I'm not giving it to an 18-year-old. You're out of your mind. Kiss my grits is what I can say to that. I'm not donating to any NIL collective. You're not going to get a penny out of me. When, oh, woe is me, I have to go to practice and class. Go do something else. Go do something else. But you're not getting my money. You're out of your mind. I can't believe people are actually donating to this stuff. You got a contract that's going to pay you $1.3 billion year over year. And you're asking for the people that pay for the merchandise, that pay for the tickets, that pay for the road trips to go see her, that pay all of this to watch your team. Now you're shaking them down again? You lost me. We got to hit a break. I'm all aggravated. We'll be back.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Time out! The super sale is back at Meijer, Friday and Saturday only. Coca-Cola 2 liters are $1.49. Frank's Red Hot sauce is $2.99. And Pace salsa is just $1.49. Plus, get chicken wings, pre-made snack trays, and fresh and ready deli items to enjoy during the games. Meijer's super sale deals are in-store and online while supplies last. Shop this Friday and Saturday only during the Meijer super sale. Okay, game on. Exclusions apply. See all the deals in the Meijer app.
Roast Umber is a farm direct coffee sourced from Central American farmers and roasted in Grand Rapids. And also the Nitro Cold Brew Coffee is a convenient and healthy option for energy with no sugar or additives. Look for it at your local retailer or at roastumber.com.
You're listening to Michigan's statewide morning show, X's and Bros, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Way off topic here, but I've been just enamored with this Don Lemon Elon Musk interview. That is just, Elon putting this guy in a blender. I can't stop watching it. As long as you can get past the way that Elon talks, because he could be a little slow at times, like in his speech, because he knows that everything he's saying is going to be dissected, broken down. I try not to think about it here on the radio, whereas we are live for 3 hours every day. I just talk, right? And if I got to answer for something, I'll answer for it at a later date, I suppose. But it's not like this, it's not like, we're going to be spread. I mean, we could be spread all over the world if I say something that's like a real heater, like Trey Burke's block foul call in the Louisville game was the most egregious call, probably the worst call in sports history. It's regional and it's relevant because it's March Madness. That's all. Some people wanted to argue Armando Galarraga, which turned into, I just said, what, that block versus a random game in June, and people are like, oh, the Guardians were at the gate last night. A random game in June, it's only been done 24. I'm like, I get the historical context of it. What I'm saying is it's one game in June. It could happen June 2nd. It could happen June 3rd. It could happen June 1st. Every team in Major League Baseball plays 162 games. Right? And I realize that there's only been 24 perfect games. So statistically speaking, out of all the games that have been played, it's much more challenging, maybe, to throw a perfect game, considering, well, I don't know. I really don't know. There's a national champion crowned every year, but there's 333 teams, and everybody plays roughly 30 games. I don't know. I need a mathematician in here to sit down and really look at the numbers of what's more likely. Not really sure. I mean, I would assume it'd be the perfect game just because of how many years baseball has been played and the fact that there's only been 24 and that we'd get a national champion every single year. But the possibility, I don't know. That I don't know. There's a lot of factors away into it. Regardless of all that, just got a message, but it's a fascinating interview that I can't stop watching during each break. The old gym coach just said in a tweet, said, "You nailed it. I agree 100% on NIL." Yeah, me, the common man, I'm not giving to any NIL collectives. And I don't know this from the, let's go to we can't really do it with Michigan State because with the purchase of the Phoenix Suns, it really took it puts Matt Ishbia in a weird spot. I don't know the exact ruling on it, but because he owns a professional team, there's something there. But let's just use Matt Ishbia for Michigan State, and let's use Stephen Ross for Michigan, right? Two of the most well-known, big donors. We can use Dan Gilbert for Michigan State as well, and pick whoever you want at Michigan. How many times can you go back to Stephen Ross is my question. Like, how many times can you keep going back to the same well before that well dries up? And what I mean by that is that now you have to not only fund, because the Stephen Ross, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, he built the Stephen Ross athletic complex that has like lacrosse, right? So when you come in you get off 94 on State Street, you come down State Street, and on your left-hand side, it says it, Stephen Ross Athletic Complex, and that's where they play soccer games and lacrosse. I don't even know what else is all back there. A whole bunch of different sports, right? It's a whole giant complex that this guy basically paid for or put up enough money to get his name on the building. Very important player in the Michigan economic dynamic, right? But how many times, like those are, we're talking about 1%. We're talking about the 1% here. We're talking about people that are next level. Stephen Ross now, the amount of buildings that he has his hands in South Florida with the construction projects that are taking place down there as Miami continues their push to be, I already call Miami the Dubai of the Western Hemisphere. That's my personal feeling on it, but I love that city. So, but things are rapidly changing down there. And that place, that entire state is growing at an unbelievable clip, right? Everybody is flooding South Florida because of, I don't know, whether it's political discourse or perhaps it's the tax shelter. And you look at some of these other states like Michigan, Ohio, for example. So I'm constantly on 75. So you see that when you get on 75, when you cross over from the Michigan border to the Ohio border, the roads are completely different, right? And then when the snow falls, you'll see the road commissions and how they are deployed are completely different, right? As someone who has lived on and around near that border my entire life, I've seen it firsthand. 75 in the state of Ohio is vastly superior to I-75 in the state of Michigan. Well, why is that? And then you look at the price of gasoline that is typically, I would say, on average, without having the data in front of me, just driving around and seeing the prices, it's typically anywhere between 20 and 30 cents higher than it in Michigan than it is in Ohio. Insurance costs are higher in Michigan than they are in Ohio. State tax is higher. I pay more in state tax in Michigan than I would in Ohio. Right? Why is that? And so people are starting to see these financial breakdowns and some of these societal things that are taking place, your infrastructure, if you will, and they're moving to different states, right? You're seeing a ton of people from New York leave New York. I wouldn't live in New York. There's too many people. I also wouldn't live in New York for other plethora of other reasons, but those are my own personal reasons. I wouldn't live in the state of California, right? And it is interesting with the dynamic and what's happening in the southern portion of this country and the open door policy, right? And how the census plays a role in how many seats in the House and then the Electoral College. And then you start to see all the dominoes. And it's all, like I've said it before, the playbook's all in front of you. You're watching it happen. So I think that's all very, very interesting as well. But from a sports perspective, to circle back to what I was originally talking about, the Stephen Ross thing, you have these high-level donors that are responsible for so much giving to these universities for their athletic departments, right? They give. Here's $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, whatever the case may be. Crazy numbers, right? But for us, and I saw this from DK, friend of the show, man, big Spartan guy. Maybe we'll have him on, see if we can get him on tomorrow to talk a little Spartan hoops, but also talk about this. And DK said it flat out, like, as an average Joe, I'm not going to contribute to the NIL unless I know exactly where it's going. And I'll be honest. I'll say it out loud in case you're wondering. I would not give NIL money unless it went to football. Period. End of story. That's where I'm at. And even at this point, I'm kind of, I'm good. Like, I can put my hands behind my head. I can lean my chair back. And I'm fine for the rest of my life. I've seen not one but 2 national championships. I've seen multiple Final Fours. I just got out of the best month of football in my life from about mid-December to mid-January, right? Or you could go from January 1st, the month of January. Between Michigan and the Lions, who's got it better than us? Literally nobody. Nobody. And so for me, I don't really feel the need to contribute. Even if I was thinking about it, I wouldn't feel the need to because I'm content. Like, I'm not one of these people that obsesses constantly over, what recruits coming in, who's not coming in. Like, it's been an absolute, we were going to get to the headlines at some portion of today's program. But right now you're looking at an exodus from Michigan basketball. Why? Their head coach is gone. And so what Michigan has lost here is their starting point guard, Doug McDaniel. He is left. George Washington III, he is gone. He entered the portal. They entered the portal, so they can come back, but their names are in the portal. There's no head coach, so it makes sense. Like, I'm not mad at the kids for seeing what's going on in the portal. But with Doug in the portal, George Washington III in the portal, and then they just lost their number 1 recruit, who was ranked 33rd nationally, a 6'7", 200-pound forward coming out of IMG Academy. I think it's Kahani Roots is his name. That's, he has decommitted. That's what was going to happen. And so a lot of people, Officer Br0's just asked me, who's going to be Michigan's next head coach? I said, look, man, I don't know. I said, I'll be able to tell you I'll be able to tell you in a few weeks, but I don't know who they're going to hire, right? Probably, a lot of people have talked about John Beilein. Would you bring John Beilein back? I don't know. Does he want to come back? Does he have the energy to come back in a landscape that has drastically changed since he left? Drastically changed since he left. I mean, think about what Kirby Smart said the other day. Kirby Smart was asked about kids that forego their senior year of high school because they've committed to a college. Look at what we've done. Look at what we've done. There is an NIL push right now in the high school realm. When is that going to take over? NIL in high school. Can you imagine paying a 14 or 15-year-old to come play a sport at a school? Bob in Waters is on hold. Good morning, Bob. How are you?
Oh, real good. It's a great show. You're a great American. When you get on your soapbox, you are reminiscent of Paul Harvey news and commentary, and I mean that.
Oh, Bob and Waters, my mom is going to love the fact Paul Harvey, news and talk. Now the rest of the story.
Yeah. I heard his last broadcast over a decade ago when he was 90 years old. That guy was awesome.
He really was. He really was. He really was something. He has a speech that or a segment, whatever it is, that has been floating around social media lately. That's from the '60s. I'm sure you know this when I say it. If I Were the Devil. Have you ever heard that?
That rings a bell, yes. Oh, yes, I have heard that a long time ago.
Yeah, and it's making its rounds right now on social media because everything that Paul Harvey is talking about literally is coming into play. It's crazy. It's crazy the foresight that he had.
When I was in high school, I could listen to his show on my lunch hour, and when it was over, I could punch a button and hear his show again on another station.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up with him.
Yep.
But,
what's on your mind this morning? What do you got for me this morning?
I just want to share some fun stuff with you. You already answered some of my questions, like Matt Krause with UFL. I was wondering if some of these quarterbacks were just loose or going to the UFL, like someone like a Josh Rosen or someone. That's going to be interesting. And I wondered if there was still an NIT, and yes, there is. But I got after the Lions season, I got studying a little bit about Lions history and Bobby Lane in particular. And I want to recommend a book to everybody. It's written by a Detroiter named Richard Bach, B-A-K. I have a book of his he wrote about Roosevelt's Rough Riders, but it's from Wayne State University Press, and it's called Lions Were Kings, and it's from 1950 to 1959. And I was born in 52, and the Lions won in 52, 53, and 57. And
this was a 2020 Nelson Ross Award from the Professional Football Researchers Association for outstanding achievement in pro football research and historiography.
Oh.
Yeah, you can get this book right now in paperback for $29.99 on Amazon.
Yeah, and it's from 2019 or something. It's very new, and it's awesome. And it got me reading, there was a book called Heart of a Lion by Pat Livingston I read. But Bobby Lane wrote a book when he was still active in 1962 called Always on Sunday. And it was so neat to read about him and Doak Walker. They were in high school together in Texas. And during the war years, when they were in college, they got their draft notice, and Bobby Lane flunked his physical because of high blood pressure. And the media people were saying, "Oh yeah, right, special treatment." And so he took another one, and he failed it again. And so they got looking around, and in February of 1945, the same day, Doak Walker and Bobby Lane joined the Merchant Marines because the requirements were less, and by then, Merchant Marine ships were armed with cannons and guns. They made a Humphrey Bogart movie about it. But, it's amazing reading. It's crazy times back there. But I'll give you one quick trivia. I think you'll be the only one that will guess it. And then I'll let you guys go. But, there's the AFL and the NFL before they merged.
Mm-hmm.
who's the only quarterback to ever win a championship in the AFL and the NFL? There's only been one.
AFL and the NFL. And so we are...
Before the merge.
Right, so he had to win one he had to play in the AFL prior to the merger, and then he had to win post Super Bowl I. So it's not Bart Starr.
No, it wasn't a Super Bowl. It was an AFL championship, NFL championship.
Oh, okay. So prior to the merger, he won in both leagues. Oh, my goodness. Wow, I have not the slightest idea. That's way back then, Bob. I wasn't born then. I barely remember the 50s, Bob.
I was just a kid, but the answer is Tobin Rote. He won with the 57 Lions and the 63 San Diego Chargers against the Boston Patriots.
Tobin Rote. Now that sounds like a name from the 50s. Tobin Rote. If I saw Tobin Rote, I imagine that would be 1957. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, the former owner of WJR actually purchased the Lions in 1934, 35.
34,
and then,
Mr. Richards.
Yep, Mr. Richards. He purchased the team in 34, and then did they sell the team? When did they sell the team?
He sold it in 40, and Mr. Ford bought it the day John Kennedy got killed.
That's right.
In 63.
Yep, and that's where and that's where we find ourselves today. Bob and Waters. My mom has already sent me a text message. She said, "Thank you very much. She loves you, Bob."
All right. Well,
I can't wait to drive up there and have a pop with you, Bob.
Oh man, we'll go down and get a wet burrito.
Wet burrito sounds good to me.
All right, you're always welcome.
All right, partner. There he goes, Bob and Waters. A little Lions trivia here at the end of hour number 2. The premise of all of it with DK is that, and that's kind of my point with the NIL, is that the school's now going to not just the high-level donor, but now they're coming to the general public. Now they're going to, Scott, Scott's going to take his wife and 2 kids to East Lansing to watch a game, and he's going to invest in the 4 tickets. He's going to invest in the parking, the merchandise, the popcorn, all that stuff. And it's going to be expensive. And in a world right now where everyone that is below that 1% line is starting to look across, doesn't matter how much money you make. If you're in the 99 percentile and you're looking at the dissolving of the middle class right now, we are all looking at our monthly budgets going, hey, where can we cut here? Where can we cut there? It's just to have somebody ask for NIL at this point. I've never even given back to my university. I just haven't. Like, I get the donor letters, they go whoop right in the. I'm not doing it. I can't. Like, I'm not. No. I hit that Powerball, I'll think about it. Hit that Powerball, we're in a different ball game now. Now we can do some NIL damage from my luxury penthouse in Cartagena. That's where I would do the show from. It would only make sense. We'll step aside. We'll be back. Hour number 3. Lee Sterling joins us next. Don't go anywhere. Keep it locked right here. X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network.
Imagine this, winning big at Soaring Eagle. The food district is now open. There's something for everyone, from Bubba Coos Burritos to Bonanno's New York Pizza Kitchen to Guy Fieri's Chicken and Ike's Lovin' Sandwiches. Savor every delicious flavor at the all-new food district. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Your getaway reimagined. Visit SoaringEagleCasino.com for complete rules and details.
Bill Simonson here for Flying Ace Craft Spirits. You can chart your own course with small batch American-made whiskeys. And also they're connected to Folds of Honor here in Michigan, providing 4 scholarships this year through Flying Ace Craft Spirits to the children of men and women injured or killed in combat. Look for Flying Ace Craft Spirits and that small batch American-made whiskeys in different flavors at local stores, or ask for it at your local pub, bar, or restaurant. Flying Ace exists at the intersection of independence and precision. They distill fine spirits for mavericks, the adventurous, the cunning, and the bulb. You can find out more and also order online if you're 21 and up at flyinaspirits.com or look for it in stores all across Michigan or at your local bar, pub, or restaurant.
Time out! The super sale is back at Meijer, Friday and Saturday only. Coca-Cola 2 liters are $1.49. Frank's Red Hot sauce is $2.99. And Pace salsa is just $1.49. Plus, get chicken wings, pre-made snack trays, and fresh and ready deli items to enjoy during the games. Meijer's super sale deals are in-store and online while supplies last. Shop this Friday and Saturday only during the Meijer super sale. Okay, game on. Exclusions apply. See all the deals in the Meijer app.
Roast Umber is a farm direct coffee sourced from Central American farmers and roasted in Grand Rapids. And also the Nitro Cold Brew Coffee is a convenient and healthy option for energy with no sugar additives. Look for it at your local retailer or at roastumber.com.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Huge here. AB's doing a heck of a job, and I'm ready to drop some huge opinions about what he's talking about later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
It's time for Michigan Sports Talk Morning Show, broadcasting live all across the state of Michigan and Northwest Ohio. This is X's and Bros.
Swings it out to Sadiq Bey. Defended in the corner. To Abdul-Rahman at midcourt. Extra pass. And it goes for the win. The three-pointer by Jordan Poole. Here's the give. Walker. Kenneth Walker. Touchdown. Smarty.
Goff's got it. Back. Looks. Throws. Ends up.
Yes.
Caught. Touchdown Detroit Lions. They did it. Amon-Ra St. Brown in the receiving end.
Sends one to deep left center field. Back it goes, and that ball's out of here. A grand slam from Miguel Cabrera. He's got 2 goals. Larkin in on goal. Scores! His first career hat trick in his 7th season for Dylan Larkin.
Here's your host, Anthony Bellino.
Rise and shine, folks. Welcome back here on this Tuesday, the 19th day of March, and officially the opening tip-off of the 2024 NCAA tournament. That's Ben Glazer, Ryan Elke. I'm Anthony Bellino. Join us on the horn right now, our good buddy Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports. It's time to pick some brackets. Lee, how are you, my friend? How is the Dubai of the Western Hemisphere? What's life like down there in Miami right now? I heard the traffic is incredible.
Not great, but I live pretty much in a 2-mile bubble. So my house is 2 miles from my office, which is in a triangle 2 miles from the gym where I work out in. So I stay in that bubble. I've got my grocery store there. I've got pretty much anything I need. Only time I really travel this time, I go to a lot of UM baseball games, University of Miami baseball games. Enjoy that. So, I'm not, except for when I'm going to a Miami Heat game, maybe every second or third week. It's not too bad, but I did almost get heat stroke on Sunday. Played basketball in the morning for 2 hours, played every Sunday morning, took a shower, thought, oh, okay, I'll go to the UM baseball game. It's like 93 degrees, hottest mid-March day they've had in 40 years, and had to leave after the 5th inning. I'm like, I'm done.
Wow. Guy's still out there hitting the gym, playing basketball, sitting courtside. Jimmy Butler's out there. Hey, the Miami runs on Duncan, right?
Jimmy's injured. He takes off. Plays like every third game.
Those are the dates you got to get. It doesn't matter. We got Duncan Robinson. You mentioned UM, huh? A real Michigan man.
He got hurt too in the game last night. Went out.
Unfortunate, but I'm glad he's got a little uptick. Like, I'm glad that he is found his stroke a little bit this year, because last year was looking a little rough.
Yeah, he got it back.
That's good. Hey, let's go NCAA tournament, my friend. It's one of the most wonderful times of the year. People are worried about trying to build their brackets and whatnot. Yep. However, and I think our listenership, there's another way you can get into the brackets. So let's do it. Let's take a look at this from the gambling perspective, shall we?
Yeah. Most important thing is you got to know the rules. And why do I say that? You have to know the scoring system. Maybe this is the reason that you and I didn't get in to an Ivy League school. So I had a friend one time. He moves from L.A. First time in our bracket with like 80 people. He predicts the Final Four but doesn't win a dime. Why? He didn't read the rules. Now, if the rules are the first round is 1 point, second round's 2 points, and it jumps to like 10, 20, 30, 40, you can take more chances in the first round. If it's like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, you got to be judicious, and you can't just start, coming up with 14-3 and 15-2 upsets. So know the scoring system and the rules before you get started, and then also know the audience that you're playing to. So if you're in the Midwest like you are, you want to have probably a better chance to win it. Probably got to knock off at least 2 of the top 3 teams in the Big Ten if you want to have a better chance to win. Predict some teams from the East, South, or West a little bit more over the long haul. So those are just some of the basic rules that I follow here. Now, some of the big teams that obviously people want to know about, they want to know, can Purdue get it done finally? I don't know. I mean, this team, they just keep missing key free throws down the stretch. I think they got a really nice draw, but outside of that, I just think that they're going to find a way to probably blow it once they face, let's say, a Creighton or a Tennessee. So I'm not going to put Purdue in my Final Four. I actually like Creighton in that bracket. Some of the other teams from the Big Ten people are looking at, I like Illinois. I think they're probably going to make their brackets final, but they got to play UConn. I mean, UConn is scary good, but the first-round game, I mean, should be an easy one against Morehead State. Morehead State, number 285 in turnover percentage is their defense. Their only chance is they play real slow tempo, 335 out of 355 teams. Unless Illinois is just totally off, Illinois should win and cover that game. And then the other team that's in it, some people think might have a shot, is Wisconsin. But Wisconsin is going to have to face probably Duke and then the winner of the Houston-Texas A&M game. So Duke can beat pretty much anyone except for North Carolina. So they just have a tough draw. I actually like Texas A&M. My Final Four, you can't be like Jay Billis and pick 3 number 1s and a number 2. I do like 2 1s. I like UConn and North Carolina, but I like number 9, Texas A&M, to make it to the Final Four, and number 3, Creighton.
Oh, wow. Okay, Texas A&M, circle that, folks. Circle the Creighton game. Going over, you mentioned North Carolina, one of those ones that you like. If or when they make it through their first round game, they're going to get the winner of Mississippi State versus Michigan State. This one in a couple of days over on CBS, a 12:15 tip-off between the two MSU schools. Who do you like in that matchup?
I like Mississippi State. I just think Mississippi State is they're going to force Michigan State into some turnovers, and think Mississippi State just playing that tough schedule. And I like their coaching staff. I think they're able to get their team ready for one game. Don't be surprised if you see a change made at Michigan State. Some of these coaches have been around. They're just tired of it. Down here, I was talking to Coach Larinaga in Miami. He might lose 10 of the 12 guys might hit the portal. I mean,
wow.
It's just not the way it used to be. I mean, they're expecting over 2,000 of the 4,000 college basketball players to be in the portal. So, I'm for free movement maybe once, but the system right now is just not working to the betterment of making college basketball better.
You know what we like to call that? Portal combat.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, portal combat. You take that with you. I like that. All right, who is the team? I know that you mentioned the Creighton, the Texas A&M one is kind of shocking because they got to get by my guy Keisei Tominaga out of Nebraska. It's all about the guard play, Lee. But who maybe is a team that you feel is just overrated in this tournament that you have zero faith in?
Probably Arizona. Pac-12 was weak. There's a reason why they're dissolving this conference here. They play no defense in football. They play none in basketball here. They didn't face the only teams that they faced with decent rosters all year. Decent were FAU and Washington State, and they struggled. Just played very few quad one opponents. So I would say Arizona. I have no faith in them. And you want a couple. Long shots here, sleeper teams. Number 10, Drake. Love this Drake team. Tucker DeVries, number 6 scorer in college basketball. He had 13 games of 25 points or more, and his team shot almost 44% from three-point range in the conference tournament. And the Duquesne Dukes, number 11 Dukes, have won 8 straight. They ranked 34th in adjusted defense, the best among mid-major busters. People want to see the teams like, Drake and Duquesne. They want to see how they match up against the big boys. They don't want to see the number 7 seeds from the Big Ten and the ACC and the Southeastern Conference. That's what makes the conference. Tournaments okay, but March Madness, they want to see these teams that they don't get to see all season long. Indiana State should have been in.
Hey, call Lee right now at Paramount Sports on Twitter, 1-800-400-9741, 1-800-400-9741. I'm going to take that audio right there, Lee. I'm going to clip it and send it to Greg Sankey, who's trying to expand this tournament. We want the Cinderellas, Lee.
Yep. I agree with you. Anyone else wants to get involved, only had 2 losing weeks. The entire March Madness, you get the entire tournament plus NBA during that time. We'll come out firing 6-7 plays on Thursday and Friday. $197. One place, ParamountSports.com.
ParamountSports.com. Lee Sterling, my man, appreciate the time. Great to hear your voice, my friend.
You too, buddy. Take care.
There he goes. We're back with more X's and Bros after this.
It's time to go on the court with Tim Stout.
It's a new day to celebrate and be free. It's a new day full of action and excitement because it's a day for winning. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, it's a new day. Visit SoaringEagleCasino.com. It was a little nerve-wracking for Michigan State basketball coach Tom Izzo, his staff and players on Sunday night, but the Spartans, with a very tough season behind them, have made it to a 26th consecutive NCAA tournament. It's been a tough year, yeah. In the tournament field, Michigan State had a 3-10 record during the regular season amongst the other teams that are in the tournament. Now it's off to Carolina, right, for a Thursday game, the first one of the regular bracketed tournament against a tough Mississippi State game, pretty much considered a toss-up. The winner likely to get North Carolina playing in an arena that is only 140 miles away from its home gym. Clearly a challenging start for the Spartans in the NCAA tournament.
Hey, Michigan, let's go big. I'm Herman Moore, Lions All-Pro wide receiver, and I'm talking real big-time winning on the hottest slots and table games on one incredible app, Eagle Casino and Sports.
Sign up now and get up to $1,500. That's right. We'll match your deposit for up to $1,500, and you'll get 100 free spins.
Eagle Casino and Sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan.
Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
Can't call in? Text us using the keyword sports radio and send it to 21000 or tweet us at XB Mornings. Now, back to X's and Bros with Anthony Bellino here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Welcome back here to X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network. Boy, great time of year. Very exciting stuff with the NCAA tournament kicking off tonight. The first four, quick turnaround, right? Trying to get all the film that you can. Thank God for synergy. We'll talk to the coach, Kyle Barlow, on Thursday morning. Get an update for, what he feels. And I just want to go back to what Lee Sterling said there at the end, right? We wanted, Indiana State should have been in. Yes, they should have. Indiana State, to me, is a very good story. And when we look at the expansion topic that Greg Sankey has brought to the forefront, I feel like it is my duty to make you all aware of what they're really talking about. And what they're really talking about is making sure that the SEC and the Big Ten and the power conferences, because of Greg Sankey talking about UCLA making it from the first four to the final four, that they have basically, because they are the bigger schools, we'll use the term Power 5, even though high major, whatever. We'll use or Power 6 if you want to include the Big East in this mess. The Power 5 schools about to be Power 4, so confusing. What he's saying is that the mediocre Power 4 team is better than the best of the mid-major. And to a certain extent, he's right. Like, I'm not going to disagree with that fact. Like, and we'll talk to Coach Barlow asking the same question. Take the top 4 teams in the MAC, throw them in the Big Ten. Where do you think they finish? Like, Michigan was an 8-win team this year. At the end of the day, they still, from a size perspective alone, they would do some damage. Like, there are, levels to all of this, right? And that's not to take away or to, damage the reputation of the mid-major, but the mid-major is what makes it fun. Right? I don't think that Western Kentucky, shout out to the Hilltoppers, that they have a legitimate chance against Marquette. But if they upset Marquette, that's going to be a lot of fun. Like, if Campy's crew, if Greg Campy on CBS at 7:10, great story here. His best player, both of his parents played basketball at Oakland. He always wanted to go to Oakland. Greg Campy told me last week that Trey Townsend's his name, that when he was a young boy, he would come over and sit on Campy's lap, and they would talk like, just whatever. It was like, he was a young kid at the facility all the time. And that's the relationship that was born there. I think a lot about my young point guard who then, my mother called 2 weeks ago to help out and clean. He left his corporate job on his way home, stopped by the grocery store in his corporate clothing to clean the bandsaw. I can't even imagine the mess that he had to deal with there. But he had to clean the saw. We didn't have anybody there. And she called him. She panicked, and I was already gone to job number 12 of the day. So, but like his younger brother would come to our practices. So the older one was a 5th grader at the time, 5th through freshman year, and the younger one would have been, I don't know, a 1st or 2nd grader. And so he would come to practice. He would sit there. He wouldn't talk to anybody, right? He would just sit there. But he was learning as we went, like learning about this. And I always feel like I probably should have stuck around and, coached him as well. I just didn't have the time. But because he was there, I gave him a task. Like, don't just sit here. Let's make yourself useful, right? So in the beginning, he'd sit around and he'd be there and he wouldn't say anything. And then he'd want to, he'd feel daring. He'd grab a ball and he'd want to shoot. Well, that's great. So it did different drills. Like, hey, let's go grab the balls and put them over here. During games, like, let's track stats. Did it matter? Did I look at the stat book? Sometimes. Did I trust the stats that a 6-year-old or 7-year-old was keeping? Not really. But it gave him something to do, and it made him feel a part of the team. So, yeah. And as long as his older brother doesn't mind, sure. Why not? It's good for him, right? We want to see that story be told for Campy and Trey Townsend, who Campy has, this relationship with his family. And here's this little boy who's hanging out at the facility. Those are some of the great stories. Yeah, at my old high school, the varsity coach's son, they gave him a warm-up. And the varsity coach at the time was an assistant coach before he would take over the program and take them to new heights. under his tutelage and direction. But he would have his son would be out there with the basketball team as a little kid, first, second, third grader. His son is now AAA with the Chicago Cubs. Like, the kid was always athletic, but because he was always around it. He was always around it. And so that environment that he grew up in was an environment of practice, right? It was an environment of discipline. It was an environment of sport and competition. That then took him, through college, and it got him to a position, a very good baseball player, obviously, and now he's playing AAA. I think it's the Iowa Cubs, maybe, and having a really good spring training right now. Right? And I felt so bad for the kid because he would catch so much flack. He was a starting quarterback, starting point guard, a great baseball player. He's a catcher now, with, as I mentioned. And he would catch so much flack because, it's just the coach's son. No, the coach's son is better. Like, let's be honest about it. The coach's son is not only a better athlete, but he understands the game better. So it's not just the coach's son. Like, he's held to a very high standard. Does he get a little more leeway than some? Yeah, probably. But he's got more ability. Like, the more ability you have, the more leeway you get granted. Like, that's the way that it works. Like, if you're my point guard and you're the best point guard on the team and you're knowledgeable, and I'll apply this to my point guard at the time. Like, he was more intelligent than the other guards that we had. He's going to get more leeway. It's okay if he turns it over because I understand why he's turning it over some of the times. Other times, you're like, why did you just throw that ball into the 15th row? Why did you do that, right? But then have him talk it out. Like, have him come here. Like, what's going on? And have him explain it, because once he starts to talk it out mentally, he'll be like, okay, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm supposed to be seeing. Right? And so I always felt bad for that varsity coach's son. God bless him, and I don't feel bad for him anymore. Kids just kicking ass and taking names, and I love every second of it because he caught so much flack through high school because he was the coach's son. And it was like, no, it's not just because of that. It's because this is the environment that he grew up in. And so the Trey Townsend story with Oakland, I hope that CBS highlights that. I hope they show pictures of his mom and dad that both played at Oakland, and Campy gets to talk about it. It's Campy and his friend Calipari, and now they get to meet up in the tournament. Like, that's so awesome. That's a great story. We want this story of Oakland. We want stories of James Madison or Vermont, right? Or Longwood or Stetson or Morehead State or Drake, and what this could mean for one of these schools to elevate their profile across the board. Like Sister Jean. Think about Sister Jean and how that took over the sports world for a month. Long Beach State. I watched Long Beach State firsthand. Marcus Sahonis is his name. Watch out. That kid can get buckets. That's a grown man. It's not a kid. Like, he can fill it up. They're going to get Arizona at 2 p.m. on TBS on Thursday. I would highly recommend watching that basketball game, specifically for him. Like, watch that. TBS, 2 o'clock, Marcus Sahonis, Long Beach State taking on Arizona. What that could mean for the beach. That's what they call themselves. The Long Beach State Beach. Strange name, whatever. Grand Canyon taking on St. Mary's. Right? You get all of these different smaller schools. The amount of Mountain West teams. Like, what if Utah State makes a run? Then what happens? That's what makes March Madness special. That is what people like myself, with this platform that we like to say, people like myself in the media, we need to work to preserve and protect. I know that expanding the field from 64 to 96, I know that gives us more games. And an expanded bracket and more games are more dates on the television. It is more time on the television. It is more revenue from advertisers. I'm in the advertising business. I understand how this works. But sometimes less is more. Less is more. And you might say, but Anthony, you are all for expansion in college football. I'm for college football expansion because of the small percentage of teams that make an invitational that's voted on. Right? Even here with the selection committee. But you could still play your way in based on the criteria that we know. Win your conference tournament and you're in. You get an automatic bid. I love that. Protect this. Don't expand this to get more mediocrity just so we can get more advertisements. Protect it. Make it special. And keep it about the Cinderella. We'll step aside. More X's and Bros after this. I love what the Lions are doing. Mike Greenberg doesn't agree. We'll talk about it next.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Time out! The super sale is back at Meijer, Friday and Saturday only. Coca-Cola 2 liters are $1.49. Frank's Red Hot sauce is $2.99. And Pace salsa is just $1.49. Plus, get chicken wings, pre-made snack trays, and fresh and ready deli items to enjoy during the games. Meijer's super sale deals are in-store and online while supplies last. Shop this Friday and Saturday only during the Meijer super sale. Okay, game on. Exclusions apply. See all the deals in the Meijer app.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org. Coming up later today at 3 on the Huge Show on the Michigan Sports Network, I'll deliver huge opinions on everything you're talking about.
Miss any of today's show? Find our podcast and listen on demand on Google, Apple, Spotify, the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, back to X's and Bros with Anthony Bellino, here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Welcome back here to X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network. Great to have you ride along with us, no matter who you are, where you are, how you may be listening, all across the great state of Michigan and in Northwest Ohio and worldwide on the iHeartRadio app. Join the show, text the keyword Sports Radio, send that to 21,000. Call us on the Meyer Supercenter guest line, 866-838-4843. That's 866-838-4843. All right. So something came out from Mike Greenberg on ESPN. And I want to play this for you. I want to play the clip in its entirety for you so you can hear what he's saying. And I'll tell you the drastic difference here and how this all relates to the moves that the Lions have made this offseason.
I think they missed their window. I think their shot to win the championship was last year.
Explain yourself.
I think they're getting surpassed in their own division. I think Green Bay is now better than them. I think Green Bay was a coming. And I think Detroit had it. Like look at all throughout history. Look how many teams lose games in the playoffs, deep in the playoffs, that we think, oh, man, well, that was just the beginning. You know they'll be back. How many times is that team not back? The Lions had the 49ers dead to rights in their own building in the NFC Championship game. How about when Buffalo lost that game 13 seconds against Kansas City? Well, that was a heartbreaking loss, but you know they'll be back. They'll clearly take that one more step. How's that worked out? Cincinnati in that Super Bowl against the Rams. Oh, look how close they've come. Look how good and young their quarterback is. Oh, they'll certainly be back. How's that worked out? I'm old enough to remember Dan Marino getting to the Super Bowl against Joe Montana, his second year in the NFL, set the world on fire. Oh, Marino, the first of what will unquestionably be 5 Super Bowl appearances. Never got back. You missed that chance. You missed that chance. Green Bay is going to be better than Detroit next year.
It's an interesting point.
That's what Mike Greenberg has to say. Greenberg saying that Green Bay is going to be better than Detroit. The first portion of this, right about 30 seconds into that clip, I agree with. Detroit did have the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC Championship game dead to rights, as he said, in their own building, as he said. That is factually correct. All of those things happen. Where we are missing out here a little bit on, and what we are missing out on, is the fact that this was acknowledged by our head coach. And I think that plays a role. And let me explain why. Because so many times we did assume that Joe Burrow and the Bengals would be right back next year, right? They're back. They're so back. The Cincinnati Bengals going to dominate that division, right? Division is tough. Outdoor teams, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland. Very gritty. A lot of Rust Belt teams there. You have a theory here in which everybody believes, we're going to be right back, right? They don't think of the opposite. Are they preparing for the opposite? Are they mentally prepared? Are they having that honest question with themselves? Like a lot of times, and I'm big on this, right? You got to do a self-scout, right? Self-scout. And there are a lot of areas when I look at myself and I see the flaws that I have, right? How do I improve on those mistakes that I make, whether a segment flops or not, whether I think it flopped or not, whether I think that, hey, yes, today was a really good show. You know, I probably walk away from this studio saying that, man, today was a good show. Once, maybe a month. Maybe a month. Because I'm very highly critical of myself. We are typically, through the way that we are wired in our own minds, we are typically our own worst critics, right? And so I realize that in the way that plays on me personally. And so what have I tried to do? I have tried to seek out things to listen to find out how other people in other fields operate. I think it's very important. In a field that I am very much interested in and sometimes it comes out here on this radio program. I am interested in the field of work where every decision is a life or death decision. So I was listening to, there's a gentleman by the name of Christian Craighead. You may know the name from 2019. There was a hostage situation in Kenya at a hotel. Christian Craighead, without permission, didn't have permission, didn't really get it either way. He was part of 22 SAS, which is the Special Air Service, is like the think Navy SEALs of the British Army, right? And he was in Kenya at the time. And so he doesn't go into detail into what happened in the actual hotel itself, but he talks about all the events in his life that prepared him for this and how he, going about it, what he believes, things of that nature. Because of my, I don't know if I would say it's an obsession, but an interest in history, military history, global conflict, right? How people operate and then deal with the ramifications of their decisions following that. I find that those are people that have actual problems. Somewhere in the world right now, someone is dealing with an actual problem, right? And so when you have kids, you think little people, little problems, right? And as they grow up, right, little kid does what? Drops a gallon of milk. There's milk all over the floor. My mom would say, can't cry over spilled milk, right? You got to you knew you made a mistake. It is what it is. That's a minuscule problem. If you have a 16-year-old or any high school age kid, but especially a 16-year-old or above that can drive a motor vehicle, you as a parent know exactly what I'm talking about. Now you have a whole new list of worries and concerns and problems. Falling off your bike is a one issue, right? Driving a motor vehicle is a completely separate responsibility, okay? And so you get what I'm saying, right? Somewhere in the world right now, someone is dealing with a real-life situation that is going to have long-term ramifications for those people that are inside that building and for those people on the outside trying to get into that building. That's what I look at it, right? Who's putting a breaching charge on a wall? How are they getting into the building? What are they going about? What are they experiencing when they're in there? And then when they get out, if they get out, how do they deal with that moving forward? I find the philosophy behind it in the mental acumen that you need to have to be able to react. I find it fascinating. And I want to know everything about it. So that's why I listen to a lot of stuff. There's very few select sports radio programs I listen to. Everything else is, when I'm in the car on my commute, I want to tune that out. I want to listen to something different, right? I want to do a self-scout. How does this all pertain, right? That's what helps me personally. How do people deal with their failures that have real ramifications? I can have a segment that flops. It's not that big a deal. Maybe somebody turns the radio off and they never listen again. Like, this guy's an idiot. I'm never listening again. Okay, I don't even know if that happens or not. There could be one person listening right now. There could be 100 million people listening right now. You have no idea. That's the beauty of radio, right? It's the theater of the mind. Self-scout. Dan Campbell did a self-scout and addressed this immediately after that football game. They lose the NFC Championship. They've got San Francisco in the first half on the ropes, and they are just delivering body shot after body shot and it is just, they are pummeling. They went back to their stools after round 6 and came back out in a 12-round championship fight. It was San Francisco who got the decision. Dan Campbell came right out and said, we may never get back here. That immediate, honest reaction is why this program, this Detroit Lions program, we just lost video, is in very, very, a very good place. That's why. Because he was immediately able to identify the reality of the situation. It is so hard to get here. Some get here and never get back. And then you start to take a look at some of the moves that they have made this offseason. It's all lining up. It's all making sense for the one thing that every team is chasing, but so many forget. Sustained success. Let's get to Freddie, who's on hold right now. Freddie, good morning to you. Welcome. He's on the Meyer Supercenter guest line. You can join us too. 866-838-4843. What's up, Freddie?
Man, why are you talking so fast?
Well, I'm hoping that you're going to kind of go on a tangent here so I can go fix the video real quick.
Oh, I'm not going to go on no tangent. But
Well, it doesn't matter. Just some sort of long, prolonged dialogue here.
Oh, so you're not going to pay attention to me like you normally do. All right.
No, my headphones are on. I don't take them off.
Let's start with this. I lost my voice. Forgive me. 1, 2. I would say you do 2 shows a month really well. I don't think you give yourself enough credit. 1, no, you do about 2 shows a month really good. The other ones, I don't know, man. What are you going to do? I think you need to fill in once in a while. So the Lions, if you just look back at history, you go back to 1992, right? Everyone thought, Pat Summerall, you're looking at the 2 teams of the 90s, right? And the Lions never got back. I'm going to say this. Mike Greenberg is absolutely correct and absolutely wrong, okay? Where he's wrong is, where he's correct is, here's my thing with the Lions. Everything went right for them last year, okay? No major injuries. Even the one major injury they thought they had, Sam Laporta turned into Superman, and he played the next week, right? And everything went right for them. No major injuries. Big wins on the road. You name it, everything went right. Rookies. The rookies were some of the 3 or 4 of their rookies were their best players on the team, which doesn't happen too often. My concern is the sophomore jinx is real. It really is. In sports, it's real. 1 year when everything goes right, you don't get many injuries. The next year, everything goes wrong and you get a lot of injuries. I'm not hoping for none of that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hoping for any of that. But in that case, he could be correct. But I also think he's wrong. And what it is it's just about clicks for ESPN right now. And I'll be honest with you, Green Bay, I picked them to win the division last year. At the beginning of the year, I told you they were going to be good, and they end up being pretty good at the end. And they are a team to watch out for, but I do scratch my head. Why they got rid of Aaron Jones? That didn't make any sense at all. That kid's their leader, man. They played better when he came back. So that I didn't get, but they should be much better. I think Minnesota's going to surprise a lot of people, and I think Detroit will be just fine. But there is that concern, sophomore jinx, of everything going wrong when everything went right, AB. Am I wrong or am I right? Because I normally with you, I'm usually wrong.
No, I think the sophomore. So I don't know if it's a jinx or necessarily that now. It's like, it's kind of like anything else, right? When you come out and you come out swinging. Teams get some film on you. They understand, right? It's like you see rookie quarterbacks like C.J. Stroud is going to have a really probably a much more difficult time next year because, especially in his division, teams that are going to see him, 2 times. You got a lot more tape. You got a lot more tendency now. You got a lot more that you can work with. To the Aaron Jones thing, I think they went with Josh Jacobs in the same route that Detroit went with David Montgomery, right? So they're going to get a little bit younger, and they're going to get a very highly productive running back where they feel like they can part with Aaron Jones. You're not going to get emotionally attached to the player himself. You're going to look to upgrade at that position. I think Josh Jacobs can be that. I don't like either guy, to be honest with you. I love him, but I don't like either guy in Green Bay. They can both go somewhere else. Go to New England for all I care. That's a great place for both of them to go. But unfortunately, I think that Green Bay does improve a little bit with Josh Jacobs there. And I don't think that I don't know this, so I don't want to say it, but I would be very interested to know what the kind of like old guard is, if you will, and if Aaron Jones was a little bit more of the Aaron Rodgers, our old style. They're trying to move on from all of that. I wonder if that plays a role. I don't really know for certain. The Pat Summerall reference in 92, I love that because so many times, so many of us take it for granted that, they'll just be back. And I think that by Dan Campbell being as honest as he was about that is a really good reflection of how they understand what they did was special, and they believed in their early season message that we have the opportunity to do something very special here. That preseason speech he gave in the team film room, the one I'm talking about, and that buy-in level that was there. Amik Robertson, the new defensive back addition to the team, talked about coach, you want to go somewhere where players want to run through a wall. You could feel the energy already in the building, like that. It's real. It exists. And it makes me, when I start to look at some of the moves that they have made, sure, they haven't been the biggest names or the flashiest moves, but the Zeitler move yesterday made so much sense. You get a guy you can immediately plug and play who's got experience, who stays healthy, that you can now continue to supplement that offensive line and not have to throw rookies into the mix right away. I think from a developmental standpoint, I'm really excited about what I've seen thus far.
Well, I'll tell you, yeah, as bad as that loss was versus San Francisco, if things do spiral last year, a lot of people are going to go back to that game and be really pissed because you just don't get that close too often. And if you look at back, if you watch back to Brad Holmes, what he's done the last 3 years of free agency, when he's heavy on something in free agency, that's usually who he drafts first. So I really believe it's going to be offensive line who he's going to go first, and that's kind of the way I see it. And then Penny Sewell is going to break the record when that guy signs a contract. People are going to be blown away by the money this guy. He's going to break the record. He's going to be so close to quarterback money. People are going to be shocked. So that's kind of the way I see it. And the way I told you last week, I don't want Brad Holmes trading for guys like L'Jarius Sneed from Kansas City that's already won, that's already fat and sassy, and is going to get $100 million versus a guy he just signed yesterday, the Zeitler that you just brought up. Those guys are going to be hungry, and that's the kind of players the Lions are looking for. 1 or 2 year deals. The guys are going to be hungry. Now, eventually, you do got to have a few stars on both sides of the line on the lines, but that's the kind of guys that keep your team winning every year. Is competition and guys being hungry for that next contract. And when you sign guys to 5-6 year deals, $100 million, unless they're your own guys that that's been in the building since day one, I'm not giving those guys that kind of money. I'm just not.
That's why the Jonah Jackson thing. That's exactly why the Jonah Jackson thing just stood out to me. It's like, okay, that writing's on the wall. They are willing to move away from this guy. That to me, that really sounds like they knew exactly what they had there. They were good on it. We'll wipe our hands and continue moving forward. Real quick on the injury front, though, they did have C.J. Gardner-Johnson go down with the pec injury. They did have Emmanuel Mosley play like 3 snaps. I mean, they suffered some injuries throughout the course of the year but it happens in the NFL. So it's the fact that they were able to be able to draft some of the depth that came up and stepped up and played significant minutes from draft classes in years previously, and then to be able to draft a guy like Brian Branch who could come in and play immediately, that was great.
But the fact those guys signed 1 year deals, they were hungry to get back, right? They were hungry to get back because they knew they got to put food on the table next year. And lastly, if you listen to Dan Campbell, and I'm not going to name the other station, but if you listen to his interviews on other stations, when he was asked about Jonas Jackson week 10, he asked if he was going to play this week. He goes, Jonah will be back when he's ready. And he stopped and didn't say another word the rest of the year.
That told you everything you needed to know. We got to hit the break. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network.
Leonard Skinner. ZZ Top. Friday, August 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino. The Sharp Dressed Simple Man Tour. Leonard Skinner and ZZ Top. Tickets start at $38 and are on sale now at the box office and etix.com. Part of the Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series. Leonard Skinner and ZZ Top. Friday, August 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Huge here for my good friend Drew and the crew at Impact Power Sports. Now, they're located on 14 Mile Road in Rockford, just north of Grand Rapids here on the west side of the state. They are Michigan's newest Yamaha go-to golf cart dealer. Now, if you're looking for a golf cart for the neighborhood, the business, the golf club, maybe that second home or the lake, stop by and see Drew and the crew. They can hook you up today at Impact Power Sports. They also have e-bikes, quads, side-by-side, yard toys for the big boys and the big girls. Anything you need when it comes to power, they have it at Impact Power Sports on 14 Mile Road in Rockford. Also, if you want a shot at winning Lomas Brown's Lions golf cart, a custom-built Lions golf cart, text IMPACT to 21000. That's Impact to 21000. And you could win Lomas Brown's Lions golf cart this summer from Impact Power Sports and the